Hello everybody, my name's Spicy and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about Chimera and how you can boost your damage to 2, maybe even 3 times what you're doing right now. The reason I thought of this video is I was on my second account, which I am right now, and I was thinking, man, what am I missing? What is making it to where I can't do as much damage as I'd like to be doing in Chimera for the roster that I have? So I have a very, very solid roster here. We have Ninja, Newt, we have Mikage, Lydia, Glycad, just a lot of fantastic champions, but I can't get any damage. What's going on? Now, of course, the first thing that I'm going to think, and what everybody's going to think is, oh, what's your gear? My gear on this account is nowhere near my main account, but my Ninja is actually a very, very solid build. The Mikage is another pretty decent build, nothing insane here, pretty slow, but high accuracy. We have her in some Stone Skin at the moment because I can't get that 9-piece protection yet, but this build isn't fantastic, but we still have some HP, some defense, speed, accuracy. So the basics are covered. We have 9-piece protection on quite a few champions actually, and in general, I truly don't think that it's the gear that's fully holding me back. But what I did think was holding me back is I went into Chimera and I just looked at the teams that my clan is using, or in this really easy Hydra Clash, to be fair, because I wasn't even able to compete in this Hydra Clash. I got 0 points. We would have won if I did. If anybody did, really. But if we just look at some of these teams, this team, it has increased speed, it has turn meter control, decreased defense, weaken, we have a revive, we have a cleanser, we have damage upon damage, and then we also have Eostrid. Now, what does Eostrid bring that champions like Lydia can't bring, champions like Senna don't bring? The answer isn't going to shock you too much. It's going to be decreased speed. Decreased speed is the #1 most important debuff for Chimera. It isn't even close. Without decreased speed, you're going to be losing incredible amounts of damage. Turn meter control on your own team is what truly matters in Chimera, but decreased speed in specific is what is going to boost you tenfold. On my team that I have been running, well, I only ran it one time, but if we go over to Brutal here, you can see right here, this is the team I was running. We have ninjas doing the damage. We have all these different things. Glycad doing his stuff, 9-piece protection, increase defense, increase attack, increase accuracy, all these fun things. Great team overall, besides the fact it doesn't have decreased speed. Which made it to where Ninja didn't get that many turns, Mikage didn't get that many turns, and overall, nobody did. If we were to have decreased speed in this team, I think we can push it from Brutal up to Nightmare, and possibly even Ultra Nightmare with just some gear boosts. Now, what are some champions you can be using for decreased speed? For example, my account here, we have Lady Kemi, which has recently been pulled, no books or anything, but I'm definitely going to have to be investing in her because she's going to be one of the better options for your decreased speed, some extra turn meter champion. If we look inside of the index, another great one is going to be Necmo. Probably the most commonly used one is Necmo, just one that everybody seems to have. I mean, I know not everybody has him, but a lot of people seem to have him. Great control here, especially with that extra turn, decreased speed, leech, and the decreased attack. Decreased attack is another debuff that's actually really surprisingly important for Chimera, because the jump between Brutal and Nightmare attack, I think, is like some stupid amount. I don't know in specific, and I don't feel like looking it up right now, but I think the jump just between these two is insane, but the real jump is Nightmare to Ultra Nightmare, and just the insane difference it has. It's really not reasonable in my opinion. But back to what I was saying, there is Necmo, there is Eostrid, as we have mentioned, there's Lady Kemi that I'm going to be using as soon as I can get some books into her. Some other ones that I think people don't think about as much as they probably should. Who I had one right off the top of my head. Okay, sorry. Tuhana Rock is actually a pretty solid one. It's on her A1, which isn't ideal, but it's still something. She's also bringing that increased speed and that increased defense. Sorry, I'm a little rusty, guys. I haven't. It's been a little bit since I've recorded. Um, but yeah, there is that. You can also make sure you're bringing in champions like, let's say, Gwendolyn here, who's going to bring you a whole bunch of stuff for the different trials, as well as a little bit of damage. I know she's one that a lot of content creators have mentioned, but I figured I'd mention her again. Loriaka is one you could be using just for general turn meter. She does have a lot of stuff. Just a little shout out there. But I would say, guys, if you aren't sure who you have in specific, and it's going to be hard for me to mention every single champion that's going to be doing it super consistently, what you can do is go into your champions, press this little button right here. This is for the champion filter. Go down to your debuffs and just press the big decrease speed. And then you'll see in all of your account what is every single option you have for decreased speed. Now here there's going to be some options, but honestly I don't feel like many of these are all that great. Stag Knight is one you could actually be using because it's on his A1, and then he has decreased attack and decreased defense on his A2, as well as an increase accuracy passive. If you're struggling to meet those minimum requirements for the different stats, as well as Ruella is actually another fantastic epic for this mode. If she wasn't so squishy, I'd say she'd be one of the better ones, just because she has the decreased defense to weaken, then she has decreased speed, and she has a turn meter fill. So if you guys aren't too sure who to use, you can run a thing of Phoenix and Ruella, and those two champions alone, one will give you a crap ton of damage, as well as some extra decreased speed off of Phoenix, the decreased speed off of Ruella, and overall you should have a pretty solid time. I don't have all the builds perfect on either of my accounts, but I think it's time we go over and hop onto my main account where I can show you some of my builds and how I'm doing, how I plan on doing so much more damage than I am right now. Because right now I did, what, 130 mil, which isn't bad. It's definitely going to one key the Nightmare, I'm at the Ultra Nightmare, and I should do more damage in Ultra Nightmare actually because the max HP difference between Nightmare and Ultra Nightmare. But let's go ahead, head on over to my main, we'll talk about some builds, and show you guys kind of the secrets to some extra damage on your champions like your Marius and your Newt. So here on my main, we have a much larger roster with a lot more champions, a lot more decreased speed options and things. I do love Lamasu actually for my decreased speed. I figured that she's one of the better ones and probably the best on my account for what I'm trying to do, because she does help a lot with improving your damage. Now, what I was talking about when it comes to your builds on your nukers, how you can really improve their damage. So for a very long time now on my Marius, I've been running a 9-piece Slayer, and I thought that was the move. I thought it was the best way to build your Marius, and there wasn't really any other option. But my Marius now, I have him in a 6-piece Merciless, as well as a few broken pieces. We have 2 pieces of Slayer, and just a great chest to fill in here. And his build isn't even fully done actually, because this needs to be crit damage and this needs to be either speed or defense percent. I'd prefer speed, but defense percent would be fine as well. But the difference is going to be found within one, the 4-piece for Merciless, and then 2, the 6-piece for Merciless. Getting the 9-piece would be insane and would help me so much, but when we look at this helmet right here, there's really no way for me to replace that and still keep any modicum of speed. So the difference this makes is, well, between, let's say, Savage and 6-piece Merciless, it is a 10% defense ignore difference, which is incredible. It doesn't sound like that much in your head, but when you break it down to going from 0% to 10%, it's actually going to feel like a lot of damage. And then you just keep adding that throughout. You throw on a Cat's Gaze along with Helm Smasher, and eventually he's going to be getting almost to that 100% defense ignore, which is going to boost his damage a lot. Despite what Chimera says, where there's a max HP hit cap, it's actually going to surpass that cap by using things like a, let me pull it up here. Where is she? Like a 9-piece feral build, things like a 9-piece protection build as well. My second Duchess is right here. So having that 9-piece on both of these will actually boost your damage, as well as ignoring more defense will boost your damage. The damage boost from there is fantastic, but then Merciless, you also get this 4-piece bonus of the skill cooldown. Now, getting to spam this this A2 more often on Marius is also going to boost your damage a whole lot, which is why I also love using Lammasu, because that just means I get to use this A2 more and more and more. That same thing can be said for Newt over here, where you can just be spamming this A3, which actually hits much harder than Marius's, but Marius's cooldowns are better. He has this nice set of buffs and things, and it's just easier to cycle with Marius, which I think is why people tend to use him a lot more. Not to mention his affinity and the fact that Marius isn't affected by affinities, whilst Newt is. When it comes to masteries, I will say in almost every single situation, make sure you're running Helm Smasher on your Chimera damage dealers. Without that, you're really going to be struggling to properly do damage with all things that have already been mentioned. Now, on my account, as we've looked at, we have my Marius build. We can go back and look at my Riho build real quick. It's pretty simple, but you can use the Riho build on champions like Venus for your decreased defense and weaken, on champions like Ramontu, any of those champions that you're using for a whole lot of debuffs. Also Ruella, like I had mentioned, she can go in a 9-piece feral and do great work. It's very important if you're just trying to min-max things. But I think the overall idea in this video should really be, one, make sure you're using the right champions, make sure you have the right debuffs, because without a decreased speed, an increased speed, and some turn meter control, you're going to be pretty much screwed. Outside of that, make sure your nukers are in all the defense ignore they can be. Make sure they're fast, but crit damage is really the move when it comes to these max HP champions. The more crit damage you can get, the better. As soon as my Marius is a 4-star, I believe I get 38% crit damage. Yeah, 38% crit damage, and then 20% off of these gauntlets, which will push me up to 38 plus 20, 58 plus this, like, what is that going to be, like 68% or something, 65%, somewhere around there. 365% crit damage is going to boost my damage by on Marius specifically by probably around, I would say, maybe 20 to 30% just through that, not to bring along the Merciless boost that I'm going to be getting. I hope to be doing almost 200 million with just my Marius alone very, very soon, which should put my team right over 200 million. And then I also need to find some Brimstone for Riho and maybe a better soul for Padrick. But yeah, that is my general breakdown for you guys. That's how I feel, and from my experience, how you can really boost your damage, how you can do better in the game in Chimera, and how you should be able to get a lot more better relics, because relics are carrying the game right now. Without relics, you're going to be struggling. I hope this video helped you guys out a lot. I hope to see you on the next one. Thank you for watching. Peace out, guys.